Today's episode is brought to you by PTZ Optics. Disability upgrade. New Wave Toys and their Replicate Amusements products. And
Boom shakalaka! Hey everybody, it's Tim Kitzer here, the voice of some of your favorite video games like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. And I'm here to talk to you about Old School Gamer Magazine. It's the magazine for retro gaming, and it's exploding. Kaboom! Print issues come out every other month, and if you want to go green, digital options are available. Visit oldschoolgamer.com and subscribe now. That's oldschoolgamer.com. Boom shakalaka! Kaboom!
All right, let's see if we get everything working here. I think, Steven, let's see. I think you're good. I think I'm good. Even at 105,
do an audio check every time.
Yeah. See, look, I'm not even wearing my hat. It's been an absolutely nuts time, everyone. I even forgot my hat, but I did put on my Atari Pong shirt. I got that going.
Audio is good. I think you got it down to a science, Glenn.
All right.
Good.
All right, Steven.
Good.
Let's welcome everyone to the show. 10 o'clock.
Okay, welcome. Welcome. No, I'm joking. So I'm going to go down the list like we do every week. Twisted Gaming TV, welcome. Carlo, Jason, the AI, and one of our new appointed moderators. If you guys got a line, Jason and a few others will crack the whip. Let's see here. Tran Fanatic, I guess. Sure. Pliskin's Run, Andy's Game Room, Game Broker, Darth Penguin, John Puglia, Peter McNabb. Oh yeah, I still have a deposit on the Amico. We'll talk about that later. Russell Baxley, Jeff D, Tramp or Die, Video Game Vegas, welcome. Rich Ongren, I don't know. Sorry. Ron W. Who else we got here? My thing jumped all over the place. Brad Underwood. I said Apkiss already, I think. Green Sammy. Timothy Ross. JT Brunswick. Brenwick. Brennick. Yes, Brennick.
Steven, I see you need a drink, buddy.
Oh, I need to go to bed. Dion Randall and Paul Paulington, and who else we got here? Papa Brad's Gaming, welcome. Iceman, Paul Barnes. He's Norm once again. I call him Norm.
Norm.
And Stephen M. And I think I said JLS Gaming. Welcome from Florida. And I think that's it. So
All
welcome
right.
everybody. So we've got some moderators, and
doing-
they were
you know, we're-
reminiscent from last week's.
Yep.
Nutty
a little more
300
controllable.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, 300 people title away from last week. Which congratulations if you guys are in the chat for winning.
The winners,
being with
absolutely.
us, and being with us and listening to us two old guys just yap away about stuff.
Which is perfect for tonight's episode, Stephen.
That's exactly it. The news broke out, and me and Glenn, we didn't chat right away. And I saw the show, and I went, "Yeah, of course we're going to talk about that." So when I saw the post, I was like, "Yeah, we're totally talking about that." So I don't. What do you think, Glenn? What do you think? What do you?
It's kind of funny. There's an old saying. You put a frog in water, then you turn the heat on, and the frog slowly boils until he realizes, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die." Now, the Atari of today
is the frog
not
that boiled.
well. No, the Atari today though is just not the Atari of 1977 or 72. It's a different company. But the frog analogy was Atari's been buying and appropriating things, not so silently, but little by little. And now that I'm looking back, I'm like, Atari's really not making a comeback, but they're buying enough properties where they're kind of staging themselves.
A go, I think.
Yes, right.
I think that's the right choice of word. Is they're trying to bring that nostalgia back any way they can, I guess.
Today. Well, it's that. No, sure, I'm a total mess today. But I guess what I'm saying is Atari is next to Magnavox and Fairchild, Bally, Intellivision, was the first grandfathers. But Atari was next to really Fairchild, honestly, and Magnavox. Atari is the grandfather of gaming.
The OGs in the sense.
The OG, and they're still around. Now, obviously, in television, it's kind of still around, but Atari really has always kind of been there. They were a shell of themselves. They were eaten up by Warner Communications. They were passed around like a cheap whore at a party club. Just everyone got a piece of Atari for a while.
Yeah.
But now with their new CEO, he's kind of taken a little strategy here. I mean, we'll get into some of the things they've appropriated as of late. I'm not saying Atari's ever going to be what they were. They're never going to be, I don't think, ever that big again. But they're staying
it's a different
relevant.
Time too, right? You have to admit, we live in a different time than 1985 or whatever, or 81 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's a different time, and it's interesting. So sorry to cut you off, but I'm just like, we live in different times. Then this one's pretty good, Jason. Yeah, I mean, dude, if they got the trifecta of retro gaming, which is literally Atari and Intellivision, Coleco, in my opinion, maybe it's good, or I think they'll do a better job than the current status of Coleco, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think Chris Cardillo is just so over and done with. I mean, we're going to get into the Amico as well in a little bit. But real quick, Prince Malcolm did send us a $1.09 super chat. Thank you, Prince Malcolm. Atari VCS is a sleeper, best kept secret of 2024. I never bought. Well, you talk about the new one that looks
Android
like the
in the box, basically.
Yeah, basically, because I didn't go for it because it was a 4-switcher. Like I wouldn't. I don't go. I want the.
Oh no,
6
that's the plus. That's the plus. The VCS
there we go.
is that the. So there's a
okay.
plus,
You're right,
and then
Steven.
there's the.
You're
so
right.
There's two, right? See, that's the swindle, if you will. You've got the 2600 plus, and then you've got the thing that came out a few years ago that had a storefront and everything, right? Like, I mean, is that the distinction? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right. I guess that's the other thing too is
If
When
Prince
people-
can elaborate on which one he meant,
Yeah, maybe a little
you
bit.
know.
But I guess what I'm saying is Atari is so synonymous with that 2600. People forget they have the 5200, the 7800, the Jaguar, the 4 and 800, the ST line. But everyone thinks of Atari, it always goes back to that VCS, the 2600. And I was a little surprised, I'll be honest, about them buying a television, because we're talking about two companies. They didn't hate each other, but they were the two big
competition.
rivals. They were two big rivals. Now, I'm going to show a couple commercials here of back in the day and how things were. And when people talk about, I was a Nintendo guy, I was a Sega guy, or I was an Xbox guy, I'm a PlayStation guy, it all started with Atari and then television. Now, I know there was Magnavox, Odyssey 2, but it's really Atari and the television, which would have been the Nintendo and Sony of today, basically.
Pretty much.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at a couple of these commercials here.
These are
how
cheesy.
They're and I will say this: Atari, oh my God, cheese whiz, and onions. Where the Intellivision was the more sophisticated with the commercials. They had Pliskin, whatever that guy's name is. But
Plankton,
Atari's commercials are like, oh my God, what the hell were these marketing guys thinking? Let's take a look.
Attention shoppers, the new Atari cartridge game is in.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh. George again.
Atari's ASC battle. It comes with 27 games.
Okay, at least
but that's just the starters.
They're showing the
You can
console,
get
they're
9
showing the
cartridges,
games.
187 games.
They only had like I think 8 games released at the time. So
I'd like an
It's okay. This
Atari.
is-
Those will end up in
Only our demonstrators
this
left.
one isn't
No, George.
so bad.
Mine.
But there's one I'll
The
show
new
at the
video
end
computer
of this
system
show.
by Atari.
It's
More
like-
games, more fun.
Reeks of like the 80s. It really does.
They were making money hand over fist, Glenn. They
were.
could have put poop on a stick on a commercial, and they wouldn't have cared. They were, had hookers in saunas, and you know what I mean. They were drinking and margaritas all day long. So
They were. So these games again, the video games were kind of new. So I mean, these commercials were quite corny. They were.
We loved them back then. Probably when kids were like, "That's so awesome."
When you saw a commercial for these things, yeah, you definitely did. This is going to keep going. I'm going to stop this for a second. We'll take this offline.
Or just mute them.
Yeah, well, this is the video that's playing in the background. We're getting another super chat from Video Game Vegas real quick here. Let's pull this thing up here. Atari needs to buy
That's the
Star Wars
bigger-
and Marvel. There was a
Bigger price
time.
tag.
Well, there was a time back in the early '80s where Atari probably could have done that, but definitely not. Definitely not today.
today's
Video Game
money.
Vegas.
No,
But
not
so
today's money.
you saw an Atari commercial. Now let's take a look at what Intellivision, like how they did their commercials.
I'll try almost anything. So when
Plimpton.
Mattel Electronics asked
Plimpton,
me
there
to
we go.
compare their Intellivision games with Atari, I
So
gave
they
it a
were
try.
actually saying, "Listen,
I compared
we're
Atari
on the block.
baseball
This is what Atari looks like."
with
I admit
Intellivision,
it didn't look
and
very
found
good. It was
Intellivision played
Intellivision.
much more like real baseball.
So they were doing
Then
the
I
first
compared
company doing
Atari
a side-by-side comparison
with
with their
Intellivision.
competitor,
Again, Intellivision
That's
played more
what
like
Mattel
the
was
real
doing.
game.
and it worked well.
In my
for them.
opinion, if you try them
This
both, there's
guy
only one conclusion
and
you can
these type
come
of
to.
commercials
Intellivision from
helped
Mattel
launch that
Electronics.
Intellivision, because what didn't Intellivision have? They did not have an arcade division. Atari had an arcade division to draw from. So it was definitely an uphill battle with it. Let's see what some of the comments are here in the.
They were basically
chat.
implying that Atari is stupid with intelligence and
That's
sophistication.
well, yes,
And the sipping the wine and
right.
asking for Grey Poupon and rolling the window down kind of sophistication.
They
you know what
were.
I mean?
And I admit, most of my friends had the 2600. One, I think, had an Odyssey 2, and my other two friends had Intellivision. So when they got their Intellivision, obviously it was like a sports game, or a couple other games like definitely Astro Smash or Night Stalker, or the talking games. You went and played those games, but the controllers were just so bad. I know I had in the thumbnail, Stephen, I put in the thumbnail, after 45 years, has Atari finally won the original?
That's what everybody's saying, and they're coining that out there in the press.
Right, but here's the thing.
That the
Here's the
longest
thing.
video game battle ended.
But it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And I'm going to tell you right now, Atari never wasn't the king up until the crash. So the crash swept away Mattel, It swept away Coleco.
Everybody.
It swept away Vectrex. The only company that stuck around was Atari after that initial
Nintendo.
crash. When Nintendo kind of came, they resurrected the industry. But Atari never
but they were
left.
doing Donkey Kong in the time, so they were a small, tiny company, right? So they were
Yes.
still a player in the game, but not a major one. Like after they released their NES,
Right.
you know.
So I guess when I did the
But,
thumbnail, that was my shock thumbnail, because it's not 45 years later. Atari was the king over in television back in the day. They never were not the king. So even though people may, like you said, Stephen, people saying now has the first computer game war finally been won, Atari won the battle, won the war way back then.
They went down with the flames at the end, basically.
They did. I mean, there's also no question. People also blame Atari for the gaming crash. It really wasn't Atari's fault per se. Yes, they had some crappy ports like that Pac-Man a second ago, but they did not have the foresight, which who would? The foresight to put like a lockout chip like Nintendo did. There was no way for Atari to stop people like Chuck the Chuck Wagon game. A dog food company made a video game. Kool-Aid Man, making video games.
Yeah.
Pepsi made a video. There was no way to stop them from doing it. Now, again, with Warner, they were definitely releasing garbagey games, not giving them enough time, not enough ROM. Right. There's no question. But Atari itself wasn't necessarily the fault. Neither was E.T. I know people like to blame E.T. E.T. also was not the fault for the game crash. Well, we had some.
It was a crappy game, but it wasn't the fault of it. That's the thing.
Meatball Saucy says, "Don't talk over the video I was playing." I wasn't going to, but I did. So I won't do it in the next commercials, I promise. So I really wasn't supposed to talk over those.
In my defense, I don't hear the sound from the commercials. If I talk over it, it's because I don't actually hear it here.
Yeah.
But
Meatball
if I
Saucy
do
is
have
correct.
it here, yeah. So
he's correct. I shouldn't have done it. And Messiah Gaming did one right here. Atari, good job. Look forward to working with them. So the thing is, though, that Atari is still keeping things alive. And I want to talk about, Stephen, you may or may not know, some of these companies that the new Atari, which was really Infogrames. Infogrames was a French company.
Yeah,
they bought Atari.
They used to, and during the Xbox days, in my Xbox Addict times, they ported over Test Drive on the Atari label, which was Infogrames, and again, it was a French company, and I actually have a watch somewhere with the little armadillo logo of Infogrames. So it's they were handing this stuff out as PR, PR stuff. So, but yeah, you're right. They became many different versions of themselves from different companies of buying it up, selling, buying.
But technically, right now, Atari is a French company because that Infogrames changed their name to Atari. Atari was a bigger brand, and nothing wrong with that. So here's a few people have maybe even forgot or didn't know. This is what Atari has done recently. So first thing, they bought Digital Eclipse. Okay, Digital Eclipse is a software company. That was one of the first things that they appropriated. I was even shocked when they did that.
So Digital Eclipse, to give people some insight, they've focused on doing classic ports to different platforms. That's how they got their start. So they would port Doom to the Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. They would take older games and not modernize them. They didn't change the game. They would just make it work and fit and all that stuff into like a Game Boy Advance or whatever. And they were renowned for that in particular. So like you said, they've acquired those guys, which is a good acquire in my opinion,
And a quick, Stephen M asked me, did Atari charge a fee? When the 2600 had come out, no. There was no fee for games. You could just go program it. None. There was no way to lock them out. Now, a Coleco made a Gemini, which was an Atari clone, and the expansion module 1, they used the TIA chip. It was a clone TIA chip. So Atari sued them and got them to pay a royalty for using that chip. But you could just program any game you wanted for the Atari 2600. There was no way to block it. It was actually went to court, and you couldn't stop them. The very first third-party manufacturer, right here, Activision. There were some disgruntled employees that weren't being recognized or compensated, so they left. The best programmers left.
Wasn't
they
that
started
Gary Kitchen and all those guys?
David Crane, Activision, and then more people left and made a Magic, and more people left and made Apollo. So all these, their best programmers were leaving because Warner was not compensating them. If we sold, 10 million copies, and you still made $20,000 a year instead of making maybe $5 million for maybe a 10% stake in the game, these guys started leaving. So Activision, Magic, Apollo, all these other companies would do that. You would be able to put your name in the game. David Crane's Pitfall, prime example. And then that was kind of Intellivision's thing too. Intellivision really didn't credit their programmers, but I think they got a little more compensated, a little bit better. But they only had, for the most part, in-house. Intellivision started getting third parties, but there was no comparison to how many third parties did Atari versus Intellivision. So I'm getting off track. I do that a lot, and I apologize. So Digital Clips
those
was
names. Well, when you think about it, those names, like David Crane, all that, we didn't know those programmers until they went on their own and made themselves more famous, in a sense, where they would put their names out there. Pitfall by David Crane, or this by Gary Kitchen, and what was his brother's name? There's two Kitchen brothers.
Oh yeah, it was David Kitchen and David Toilet.
Well, maybe, sure,
could be
different part of the house, I guess. So, but those guys hit it big when they went on their own, which is great.
They did. They programmed the games. They did it on their own. They gave it credit. They got a percentage of the games. And I'm going to be honest. I remember every time I saw a new Activision game come out, I was buying Activision games.
Oh,
because the games, they looked fantastic. Better. They played well. They were very colorful, and they got support.
Just better games. They were just better games.
They were.
Pitfall. It's hard to beat Pitfall. I'm sorry, but Pitfall, when it came out, it was revolutionary to some level, right? So, I don't know.
All right.
I really think that company is,
So Atari bought Digital Clips. They also bought Awesome Knots, the Sword and Soldiers. I'm not familiar with that, but apparently
me neither.
They bought that property. But then here's the big one. Here's the big one that actually turned me off for a while, and I just started going back to it. Atari Age. Atari Age.
That's right. The forums.
That's right. Atari Age was a huge forum. They do much more than Atari. I know the gentleman who runs the page, and then all of a sudden, bam, Atari went in and bought Atari Age, which I was like, oh my God, they're going to start shutting down these forums. They're going to start, maybe moderating it and reject some things on there. But they haven't. They've pretty much left it alone.
Not yet, anyways.
Right. Albert is still doing
it. About a year?
About a year. Albert's still running it. Is still there. But that was a big thing to me. So out of Digital Eclipse and Awesome Knox and this game, once I saw they bought Atari Age, I was like, oh my God, these guys are serious. They mean business. And now recently, they also apparently bought the R-Cade brand, which I didn't know.
I have no idea what that is, but
R-Cade, they made things like, I think it was like Test Driver. They made some driving games. They were a pretty big PC. R-Cade.
Oh, Accolade, you mean?
Accolade, sure. There you go.
Yeah, Accolade. I was like, R-Cade? I've never heard of the R-Cade.
They bought them.
Accolade. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Test Drive and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Night Dive Studios. I'm not familiar with them, but they bought them. But
I don't know.
Then they bought a bunch of Stern properties. Hence the New Wave Toys,
Berserk, all that stuff.
Berserk Frenzy now say Atari instead of Stern. So I wasn't happy about that. But again, these are pretty big retro companies' names. And now, of course, while we're here tonight, Atari bought its biggest rival Intellivision. Now, they haven't bought everything in television, okay? They bought the M Network, and M Network was the cartridges that were in television games they ported to the Atari, like Discs of Tron or Space Battle, Baseball. They bought those games. They also bought some other Intellivision property games. I think it was like 220 games total that they bought. But they did.
I don't want to interrupt you there.
Go.
The Nightbot in our chat was getting ready to kick out Video Game Vegas.
I got to fix that. That bot was put in here for the contest, and now I got to figure out how to get him out. So don't put all capitals. Like I say, if you put capitals in,
No
the
yelling.
gets all mad.
It gets
But
offended
we'll
easily.
fix that.
Just in
it's been a week.
case video game
It really has
Vegas
been a week.
just gets the boot. Yeah.
But they did not buy the Intellivision or Amico. And I can tell you exactly why,
good.
Stephen. Let's see if you know why. I can tell you exactly why they didn't buy it or want it. They're leaving that separate.
That's a train wreck. That whole thing is a train wreck. It's trying to sell snake oil. That's the whole thing. The Amico to me was the retro snake oil, kind of like the chameleon a little bit. You know, what do you think? Oh, I lost your audio. Yeah, no. Glenn, he'll be back. What he was saying is basically that they didn't want the Amico, according to the news articles that are out there. So to me, I look at that as basically the Coleco chameleon and the promises. Hey, there he's back.
Yeah,
You're choppy.
I know. Let me see if I can fix it again.
Get your good mic out if you can. So,
Hello,
anyways,
hello.
what do you
There we
guys
go.
think? There you
I'm
go.
back.
You're much
All right.
better.
So
Much better.
Atari did not want to touch the Amico with the 10-foot pole.
Good.
There's way too much bad press. They said, look, you keep the Amico. You still want to
They're
bring
going to
that out?
rebrand it.
Rebrand it, correct? You can do whatever you want. We'll make games for it. You can make games for it. We want nothing to do with Chris Cadillo's Amico. Nothing.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a smart move. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think it was smart that Atari did not touch that Amico?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't touch it. When Tommy Tallarico left, the dude left for a reason. It's that simple, you know. So in the end, it's I don't know. I didn't give them my money. I didn't believe in that thing. You know what? For me, I'm at the point in my life where if I see anything with an Android in it, I run the other way.
Okay, real quick, Nightbot should be put to sleep right now, so there should be no issues with the chat.
Take it to the back of the barn and shoot it.
The
Nightbot.
Thanks, Scooby Foot, for the chat. So Nightbot should be gone. So
tell me about the rabbits, George. Sorry, of mice and men. Yeah, never mind.
But I think overall, I think this is a good thing. Obviously, Atari is keeping their name active, right?
Yep.
I think this is good. The Intellivision has a very loyal following. I think every console absolutely has a very loyal following. And Intellivision has kind of been stagnant for a while. Now, At Games did make, obviously, a Intellivision flashback, which wasn't too bad. I wouldn't mind seeing a new proper Mini, like we've seen with the other consoles.
You took the words out of my mouth, Glenn, because when I saw that, I said, they got to do a Mini and do it right. Now, this is, okay, so if they're listening to us by chance, how would you tell them to approach it? Me personally, make the controllers compatible so that if somebody wants new controllers for their old thing, fine. And they work with the new ones, right? Controllers. Get the controllers right. Get them compatible with the original machine and work with the new one, and you'll sell the damn things just for controllers. Or you could sell the controllers separate if you want.
I would like to see an Intellivision Mini that has also it doesn't have to be functional, but I do want to see the IntelliVoice module. They can maybe put on the side.
Well, kind of like what they did with the Sega Mini. They made the Tower of whatever.
Power.
Tower of Power.
I like to see that.
Yeah.
And I would like to see them also making the computer component. There's IntelliVoice, perfect timing, right down there on the screen. I would like them to do things like that because these would be collectibles. I mean, people collect Smurfs, right? Those Smurf things. People collect Hummels.
I got two Smurfs up there. Little
there you go.
From the 80s.
So people would collect like a mini Intellivision,
absolutely,
and then maybe a couple dollars you buy non-working little attachments, or maybe it has an NFC in the IntelliVoice that unlocks the speech games, something along those lines. Atari, I've been reaching out to you to answer my calls. I'll work with you guys. I'll straighten you guys out.
In the end, I think there's opportunity there that maybe Intellivision past license holder couldn't do for financial reasons, right? And Atari seems to have a few dollars in their back pocket. So at least if they can do a proper mini, like the Atari 2600 Plus, I don't have one. I couldn't get one, and it's gone.
What couldn't you get?
The 2600 Plus, which was kind of a mini, I guess, the 4-switcher.
Oh, I'm sure they'll make more.
Well, I don't know. I couldn't get one. I couldn't find any here or anything without having to order one from the States, from the US. So I just skipped it. But that whole thing, but I think with an Intellivision, they could do a similar product with either the original Intellivision or, it would be interesting if they could do the following. So let's say they took the original Intellivision, the original one, not the two, and just change the decals on it to have Sears on there. Remember they had a Sears version and a Tandy version.
Yep.
And they had different decals inside the box that you can go just stick the one you want that would look, and you get the license from Tandy and Sears and all those guys.
Tandy, they're kind of gone. I don't know who's got that license right now.
Hey, let me have some stickers. Okay. Let's give them a small royalty or whatever.
Let me show you guys
decals.
Let me show you guys another couple commercials. I will be silent. I won't talk about this. Here was another Atari commercial. Let's get started and then go to Intellivision.
I'd like an Atari 2600 system, please, and everything that goes with it.
Everything? You sure you want everything?
I want everything.
Now you get a new low price, up to $30 a rebate office, and a free pack.
Is that everything?
It's not everything. You can get nearly 300 different cartridges.
300?
That's nothing.
It's something.
But it's not everything. Soon there'll be a voice module, trackball, remote control joysticks, and a computer keyboard.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, but it's not everything.
It's not everything.
Soon there'll be educational games, too.
Is that everything?
That's everything, for now.
For now?
The Atari 2600.
Now get up to $30 in rebate offers, plus a free Pac-Man.
Okay, so after that, we'll show it in Intellivision.
When it comes to space games, nobody compares to Atari.
Excuse me, have you compared them to Intellivision?
Intellivision?
Sure, they've got great space games, like Intellivision Space Battle.
I didn't know.
And now there's Space Armada and the incredible Astro Smash.
I didn't know.
Here, compare for yourself. Intellivision Space Games from Mattel Electronics. Once you compare, you'll know.
So you can see there that Atari wasn't...
There was a significant height difference between the guy, the giant man, and this little nerd guy.
It was supposed to be him and both.
Didn't push him out of the way and go, get out of here.
It was supposed to be him both. But if you notice, Atari doesn't even acknowledge Intellivision, Mattel. They just do their commercial. This is what we got. But Intellivision always did a comparison. Here's us next to them. They always had to do that comparison because Atari was the king of the hill. And that's always what they had to do. But Stephen, in that video, that was supposed to be a small version of himself being snooty. So they kind of played on that as well. Now,
but what was interesting though with that commercial is like it's almost like what Sega was doing to Nintendo. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Kind of thing. It was that rivalry of sticking it to the man, so to speak, and it was like, oh, okay. Console wars, they were awesome. I have to agree with Twisted Gaming. Some of it got out of hand like dumb. I think the best one was the Sony one with Nintendo, with the Crash Bandicoot going outside of the Nintendo head office and going, "Come on, plumber!" He's just shouting crap at the, and I thought that was pretty clever, kind of thing, right? So,
well, Stephen, I'm gonna ask you something now. All right. So Atari obviously is showing some money. They must be making some money off the VCS and other things that buy these properties. Just bought in Mattel and Intellivision, right?
They're turning profit.
They are. So let me pose this to you. What do you think about them going after the ColecoVision brand?
Do it. That's all.
Well, what do you think? What do you think, Atari?
If it's a rumor, I support it.
I just started it right now.
Okay, let's do you think
Atari would go after Coleco?
Glenn's to blame. Basically, I would support it. I think if they would, I think from what I've seen from these guys, and we'll see what the Intellivision buy-up transpires, but if they respect the individual communities and fan bases of each brand, I think that's the key. If they can respect and say, hey, if they come up with this monstrosity Frankenstein Atari and television doohickey, they're gonna fail. But if they go and embrace, I guess, is each brand and what they stood for, each one, whether they buy Coleco or Manavox or whatever, if they respect each, we'll call it an avenue, if they respect each avenue of each brand that will not make Atari users angry or Intellivision users angry, or Coleco if they buy that. If they stick to that and play their cards right and talk to their communities, they're going to do really well. Buying Atari Age may be that talking to the community part, and I think that's important. If they just keep with the respect of each brand or the memory of each brand, I think that's what I'm trying to get at. It's, you know what I mean? Like just trying to not cross-pollinate too much.
Well,
I
think Atari.
What do you think?
I think Atari can make a fairly nice income, releasing like they've been doing. Release an Intellivision Mini, like I said, with IntelliVoice, maybe NFC to release extra games.
Another plus, or
right. Then they buy the ColecoVision brand, release a proper Ad Games completely screwed the pooch with their ColecoVision Mini. It was horrible. 100%. So if they build a nice small Coleco, and again,
a proper one,
a little expansion module, whether it works or not, an Atari expansion module on the front, an Atom expansion module.
That would be ironic. You know what I mean?
It would.
They would call it the lawsuit. The lawsuit expansion or something, you would never be able to build that nowadays. That would never fly,
I'm telling the CEO of Atari. I've called the guy. I've left emails, messages. Call me back. I think also should buy the Vectrex property. It's pretty much public domain for the Vectrex. Release a Vectrex friggin' Mini. Jesus Christ! Put a small screen in the damn thing. Release a Vectrex Mini.
It would sell.
It absolutely would sell.
Vectrex. This would give me an opportunity to own a Vectrex.
Absolutely would sell. So Atari can make money again with these new chips. Single computer chips like I have on the Viper. Release an Atari Lynx Mini, which it never really was small anyway, but actually make it a smaller version of itself.
I guess.
Right, but I would also love to see an Atari 5200 Mini with joysticks that actually work the way they're supposed to. Good joysticks. People, I'm telling you, and if you made it compatible with the original 5200, you would sell. You couldn't make it enough to sell them. I'm telling you, Atari, listen to me. Mini is the market for you. Nostalgia is the market for Atari.
For any of these brands, it's the minis and the brands. If you're loyal and you stick to the nostalgia of it. Maybe experiment every once in a while, but in the end, these minis, they look at Nintendo. They didn't anticipate to sell the NES Mini, and there was a shortage of them. People were hawking them and all kinds of stuff, right?
I think initially it was they were testing the waters, but after that they kept it low on purpose. They wanted to drive that frenzy of the console after
Nintendo,
the original. Yeah, after the first one was they were testing the waters. They could probably sell some. It'll be fun. They had no idea, and technically they created a genre because when Sega released one, and then Konami released the TurboGrafx 16. Now we have the 400, the 664. These are all coming out, and I enjoy them. I love them. I probably plug them in and use them more than the original consoles, only because I don't want my original console to,
sorry guys, we're coughing.
Get it shorted out. And they're just more convenient, to be quite honest.
Absolutely. I think, you know what? This is the problem with these machines. It's hooking it up to a modern television. That's the number one issue. Most people aren't technical to get upscalers and solder and RGB mods and all this stuff that you can do. And if you got a mini, you just plug it in, let people hack it a little bit to add their own stuff. And
which, you're all set. I don't know if you have to hack it anymore. I know, like with the Atari ones, they let you.
No, I meant like with remember the original NES, it was locked down.
Oh, it was freaking Nintendo.
Yeah, that's right. No, but I think maybe the plus is totally do whatever. But I'm saying moving forward with any mini is make it easily to hack. Don't put the ROMs on there, but let's face it. Anybody that really wants to find a ROM set It's not that hard.
Oh yeah,
Google's your
they're gonna
friend,
do it.
and you'll find it. Like it's so. Why don't you just let people enjoy the product? If you sell 20 more products, you're never gonna make residuals on the games for these old.
Well, they
games.
shouldn't. I'm gonna be honest. These games are so old. They should be at this point saying, "Listen, you gamers have been with us all these old games. Buy the console. Buy the console. Here are the games." I mean, some companies did that.
Kind
I
of
mean,
like what you're doing with the Viper. Just get the machine,
Right.
the mechanics of it, or the engine, if you will, and the CPU and all that, and then let people do what they want with it. In a
especially
sense.
for
And
the
I think
old
they're gonna
ones. I mean, if you're gonna game
Yeah.
from the early '80s, I mean, you've made your money. You've more than made your money. And if you re-release the game with some new features, people will buy that. But you shouldn't go after these old games that we're playing and go, oh, we can milk them some more. You milked us enough. Give a little bit
Paul
back to the
asking me
people.
where to find ROMs.
Oh, that's easy. Cool Toy. You send Cool Toy a message, Cool Toy ROMs. He'll hook you up. He's gonna karate chop me. He's gonna karate chop me for that.
In the end, I think Atari buying this was, to me, a good move if the intentions are well intended. Or if you,
I'm hoping. I really am hoping a mini. That's why I really am hoping that they were going to make
a proper
mini. Yep, a proper mini. And actually, I would like Atari to actually make not the Plus. I really would like to see like a mini form factor. The At games they're okay, but they're not the most accurate. I want to see a nice.
The At games is just something they regurgitated, in my opinion.
Well, the HDMI one, the last one they did, is pretty good. I mean, it's got the switches on it, but it's just still not there. If you know what I mean.
It doesn't, like, if you look at even the ColecoVision flashback, if you look at it, just stare at it, it doesn't look like a ColecoVision at all.
In the most basic sense, it does. The most basic sense, but not anywhere where it should be. The Intellivision one,
if you're
that one
drunk
looks
and have
good.
ear goggles, sure, but it's a black rectangular box. But when you look at it, it has a big old power button on it. You know what I mean? It just make it accurate. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? So, so what do we got here? Stephen N. Glenn's Retro. So to Stephen's point. Yeah, see, there you go. Do that.
Yeah,
and
I agree. And I said there's some that let you do that. Obviously, the PlayStation one.
Not everybody. That's the problem.
And I'm going to say, out of all of them, the PlayStation one was the only one that I needed to hack because it sucked. When I bought the PlayStation
really
one, it sucked.
Bad.
But with the modding community, it's pretty good. I mean, it looked great. It looks great.
I think
it just
what
sucked.
Those minis serve two purposes. They're kind of like the New Wave Toys mini arcades in a sense, to some level. But I think the mini arcade stuff is a bit better. But you could put this thing on a shelf, and it looks awesome. It makes people talk or whatever. And besides the functionality that plug into the regular TV and start playing the old games again, but it's awesome. And it serves the on the shelf purpose and to play the games. If you can have the perfect chocolate and peanut butter combination, you're laughing. That's what I think anyway. So it's I don't know. I don't know. I think that what do we got here? Video game Vegas, love the Commodore 64. That's my computer of choice.
I just threw a poll. Just threw a poll in there. Sorry, Stephen. Would you buy an Intellivision Mini?
Go ahead.
Would you buy an Intellivision Mini? Go in this poll. Let us know. We have about 67 people in here. Would you buy it?
I would. I totally would. If the game library allowed you to put your own games and there was a good selection out of the box, do it. I don't think the licensing would be a big issue with some of these really old games. Like, let's face it. But you never know, right? So in the end, I really hope that Atari does the right thing. That's what I'm hoping. They hope they do the right thing. They serve the community properly, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be done properly. If they I think at games, I think it's run by drunk people. That's what I really think. at games. It's like, oh yeah, we remember these old things, and then they regurgitate out this weird looking console. And, would you agree? I mean, you look at it, you're like, oh, okay.
Out of
It's
all the ones they did, the Intellivision one, I think they did justice. If you got
but then they went
Intellivision,
right after with the ColecoVision.
yeah,
and
it was
screwed that up.
bad.
How the hell does that happen?
And I have to admit, I had a lot of their Atari ones. I actually ended up collecting all of them. I had some, but when I opened up, it was an article. I saw they were doing it in Intellivision and Coleco one. I was like, oh shit, I got to get them all now. And I started getting them. And actually, my neighbor Mary Parker had got me one I couldn't find. It was the Flashback 64. It was a special version, I think, at Walmart. And she had to go on like eBay. I don't know how she got it, but she actually got me that one. But when I saw
Atari
those two,
2600, another version of it or whatever.
yeah, they had the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and then there was one called 64, and it had
Those
64
things were
games.
ugly. What's up with those big yellow buttons?
They
on
were
the top?
ugly.
It's so
They were
stupid.
ugly. They were. But when I saw the Intellivision ColecoVision one, I'm like, I got to get it. And I got the Intellivision and Coleco at the same time. I went to Toys R Us when they were still in business, and I picked them both up. I brought them both home, plugged the Intellivision one. I'm like, damn, they had the overlays, the keyboards felt great, the keypads, the machine looked the part, and nice colors, the games played well. Took the ColecoVision one out. I'm like, what the frig is this? The controller was all screwed up
over there.
It was bad. The emulation wasn't very good. I was like, what did they do here? It was a mess. An absolute mess.
The whole thing was a mess. It's like they looked at it's like they didn't even look at a real Coleco when you think about it. The like you were telling me, you and I had that conversation the other day. It's why did they not have the white background on the number pad on the joystick? It was just black and like it was inverted. I was like, what are they doing? It's like they didn't care. It was stupid. So how many people on the poll there?
It looks like
70%.
70%, but 29% said no. Look at that. Look at that.
The let's face it, the Intellivision games, the controller is kind of crappy in the Intellivision, in my opinion, but they had some decent games on there, like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. My brother and I had piles of fun with that, hours. And we'd rent the Intellivision, by the way. It was a Tandyvision at the time.
Yes.
From Radio Shack. And they would rent it at the store that we were, the Radio Shack, the local Radio Shack. It was called Radio Shack, yeah. And in Canada, Radio Shack went belly up before it went in the States belly up. So here we got the plug pulled a little earlier, but they would rent the Tandyvision, and my brother and I would just have fun playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it was pretty cool, in the end. So
I'm going to show another commercial here, Stephen, to show that there wasn't always animosity between the two. Potentially. Let's take a look at this commercial.
Not every great movie or great arcade game makes a great home video game. That's why when Mattel Electronics turned Tron into Tron Home Video Games, we made sure the excitement of Tron gameplay found its way into your home. You'll know it the moment you square off against a recognizer, if you last that long. 4 great Tron games, 2 for Intellivision, 2 for Atari 2600. From Mattel Electronics, games as good as we say they are, maybe better.
So, of course, I had to throw that up there because it was Tron, but that was Mattel.
Disney forced them to get along.
That was Mattel Electronics realizing, hey, if we start selling our games also on Atari, there's way more Ataris out there than our own. We could make money selling our games, obviously. And here's a big thing: the games actually looked and played very well. They did.
I've never played. I just bought a batch that I showed you of Intellivision games that are made for the 2600. So I'm going to try that.
Well, here's the thing, though: the M Network games, they obviously had the Intellivision and the Atari. Intellivision ported the games to Atari, and they still looked and played really good. Yet ColecoVision ported Donkey Kong to 2600. It looked like shit. I know there was an interview with him already on Gen X Growing Up saying, no, I did my best. It wasn't downgraded. I still don't buy it.
He asked him the $1 million question. It was like, did you force that, or did they tell you to?
I don't buy that.
And you were like,
it was really bad.
He's born to secrecy for life. They paid him off.
But the M Network games was Mattel Electronics. Their programmers at Mattel making Atari games, and they actually looked and played pretty damn nice. I'm not going to admit,
their version at least.
The Discs of Tron game, I loved on the Intellivision, but I hate the damn disc. The 2600 didn't have some of the features because you couldn't run one way and shoot the other. You didn't have a keypad. But it was still a very fun game. And the space battle game was very fun. So, Atari and Intellivision, I think towards the end, worked a little bit better together.
They kissed and made up, maybe. Let's
kind
say
of.
that.
Potentially.
So that dude right there in the commercial, he looks like Eric Estrada from Chips.
He does a little bit.
Just a little. But he looks
All right,
little wacky version of him, I guess.
Now, Steven, this one did better. Would you buy a ColecoVision or Vectrex Mini? 94% said yes. 5%
it's
said
done properly. Like, yeah, okay, let me ask you this, Glenn. So we had this discussion with Shiloh last week about, I don't think it was during the show, but I think it was before the show, about emulating or mimicking vector monitors.
Yes.
On an LCD IPS screen.
Yep,
whatever,
I talked to him. I talked to Shiloh about a Vectrex Mini as well. Says let's do this, man.
But in the end, it's emulating that so that it echoes properly, if you will, so that people don't get all pissed off and go, oh, well, you guys messed it up. It doesn't look like a Vectrex. I have a real Vectrex. Oh, the story goes on and on, right? So, again, you got to do it properly to some level as best
that's a hard one. A vector monitor is going to be very difficult to do. And obviously, New Wave Toys did do Tempest and Asteroids, and they tried a couple things with Asteroids that didn't pan out very well. So it's not going to be screen perfect, but I do think that the LCD panels have gotten to a point where look at the I hate to say it, but the R-Cade 1-Up. I'm going to burn in hell for saying their name. Star Wars. They did a really nice job with the screen and the vector effect. I think the glowing of the vectors, you can change all that. I have to give kudos to that one. So it is possible.
That's one of many other bad ones.
It is. But it's possible to mimic a vector display good enough to where I think the people will let it pass.
Be happy.
If R-Cade 1-Up can come out with Star Wars where the vectors actually look decent and the glow looks really good, if they could do it can be done by two chimps.
I think I'm going to say it. I'm going to take the words out of your mouth. If Atari can put the effort into the products like Shiloh puts into his New Wave toys, we're good.
Right. And real quick,
as far as accuracy and effort and dedication, and you know what I mean, like making that effort to make it cool.
I got to call Bill out for a second. Bill from Bill's Retro Gaming Show. I have to call him out. He did a video today talk about John D. Why, man? No one cares, Bill. No one cares. Let him go away. There's no need doing a video on John D. I respect the video. I expect you. Respect you.
For them.
I guess, but man, John, the community has never been better since the guy's been gone. I mean, it's like going on a school bus. People fight all the time. You get that one bully off, and the school bus is fine.
Yeah. Oh, he says he's starting a new company.
He is. He has to. No one cares. Let him do what he wants. He's the president. He's the president. No one gives a shit. There we go. No one cares.
You know what? You know what happens with communities? And I'll be honest with you. People don't forget.
I don't forget.
People don't forget. John D. He'd have to call himself something and get a facelift.
Stephen, I have to disagree with you. People absolutely do forget because the fact that people can still think of this guy as someone who's not other than, in my opinion, garbage. It's my opinion, mine alone. But I've seen him do enough stuff in the community and people still
we're going to tell the people
guy.
Here. There's 80 people in our chat. Tell every single one not to forget bad people within this small community. It's that simple. You can't, you can't let these people keep doing garbage and regurgitating crap and taking advantage of people.
Right.
Talk with your money. That's what I tell my kids. Talk with your money. Don't talk with words. Talk with your money.
Just be careful.
Don't give people with these money.
Be careful. But be careful because a cop could see you talking to the girl and offering her money. Make sure there's not a sting operation with a cop or like an undercover cop. Okay,
yeah, exactly. Speak with your money, guys. It's the best thing to do. It's that simple. Like you see these people peddling their wares, just walk. Just
Right.
get out of there. So, but you know what? To circle back to all this
Yes.
is to make sure they do it right. If they give the effort, like I said before, as Shiloh and his company does for their stuff, it's like, I mean, I'm looking at this Missile Command here. It's nuts how good it is. The build quality, the attention to detail. If they can do that, they've got it. They're going to succeed, you know.
All right, Stephen, I'm
Like
going to
if
ask
they-
you. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask people in the audience here. We have enough people in here.
Right.
Do you think it's a yes or no? Yes, no. Do you think that Atari buying the Intellivision property was a good thing today? Do you feel good
Yes.
about it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Stephen, you're a yes. People in the
Yes.
chat, yes or no? Do you think this was a
What
good
about
thing?
another
Do you
poll?
think? But Scum didn't go flying by with yeses. I got a bunch of yes. Here we go.
Let's
want
get a
to-
wall of
I want-
yeses.
Yeah, well, a
Go.
wall of yeses. I do. I think it is too. I really do think it is. And again, think about Nintendo. The only other thing with Atari and television rivalry with people would be the Nintendo and the Sega. That's probably the closest you would get for that kind of rivalry. And look at Sega. Sega is now on other platforms. Sega's on Nintendo. Sega's on PlayStation. Sega's on
Again,
Xbox.
that company's not the same company as it was before.
It's
either.
not.
They don't make consoles anymore. They fired. They let go. They laid off a bunch of staff back then. It's not. It's almost become an Atari, sort of. But they have a bit more money, I think, from releasing Sonic games and the movies and all that stuff. So at least there's a bigger heartbeat than Atari has went through, I guess, or whatever, you know. So what do you think, Glenn? You think it was?
I do.
I'll turn the tables on to you.
But I'm serious here. I'm serious. I've reached out to the CEO of Atari. I've sent emails. I have called. I'm trying to get hold of
You
him.
got to drive over there.
I might have to.
They're in New York,
Because
aren't they?
I have been an Atari fan since I was literally 3 years old, playing Atari's Pong at home. I've owned every one of their consoles.
Most of
I am
their
a
computers,
diehard.
too.
I am a diehard Atari fan. And with Atari coming back, I think in a good way, in a strong way, especially being good in the retro area, I want to work with them, help out in any way that I can, make their products as good as they can be. So if anyone knows them, knock on his door and tell him to give me a ring. I've been batting down his hatches.
They need all the help they can get because guess what? My children don't care about Atari. If you say the word Atari, oh, that's dad stuff. That's, you know, it's not common for them to hear that name. So in the end, I think that type of stuff, the days are numbered. When we get old and die, do you think the young generation is going to be, oh, Atari? Probably
Well,
not.
maybe. That's the thing.
Maybe. I don't know, but I don't think so. But you know.
If Atari is doing stuff right now, I think they're staging right now. I think they're getting some of their battle tanks like in order. And I think they're gearing up for something. They're spending money, or there's either spending money or they're giving stock options or shares of something. But the point is, they're building alliances. They're building a portfolio. They're going to do something with it. They're not going to be doing these steps if they don't have a roadmap to make money. And they do say you got to spend money to make money, which is why I make no money because I don't spend any money. But that is a saying, and I think Atari right now is saying, listen, it's a brand that does still have recognition. Maybe, like you're right, Stephen, at this point, maybe it's the older generation right now. But I think that they are trying to at least get the company back there. And again, they may not be in the top three. They may be 1, 2, 3, and then there are 7 or 8. But Atari, since 1972, in some form, still exists today.
Kept it going. Yeah,
it's going. It has never not been something. Coleco, Coleco's properties went away for a while. It was purchased a couple of times. Mattel, same thing, kind of went away. They made some compilation games. It came back a little bit. But Atari
and they
was
made
releasing
those little mini arcades that were kind of wishy-washy, I guess.
Yeah, I got them. They're okay, I guess. I mean, for what I paid for them.
That's what I mean. Like, if you look at that and then you look at New Wave Toys, and
Oh, yeah.
I won't say they're the same price, but it's apples and oranges. Like, it's totally different.
It's more like It's more like apples and palominos or something because it's
Raisins.
they're raisins. Yeah, I mean that's better because they were okay again for the price. They weren't bad. They look like little minis. Oh,
How
see this
much were
computer?
they?
Wait, Steven, see this computer down there? This one in this
Yeah.
the Intellivision computer. That's the one I had, and I gave it away to trade for a motorcycle. There's only 2,000 in the world. I didn't know it. I was only like 14, 13. That sucker right there, only that thing is priceless. And I sold it for a Kawasaki 90 back in 83. And
oh well, we all do dumb things. We all do dumb things. You didn't know. I mean,
I should have known.
Dude, I had all kinds of stuff that it's trashed that I could have kept that was worth a few extra bucks, and not maybe as much as that thing, but sorry.
Zero Redux made something here. Too bad Atari can't buy Activision. Activision can throw their sandwich out and buy Atari. I mean, Activision became such a huge conglomerate company. How much did Microsoft buy them
Activision's
for?
part of Microsoft now.
Yeah, what are they buying for? $2 billion?
Something like that.
$2 billion.
Billion or something like
Yeah.
2.3 billion. I forget.
But it just goes to show that Activision also, in some form, has existed since its creation back in the Atari days.
They've survived. Like Activision's always innovated, and they've kept stuff going, software wise.
Oh,
like, I mean,
60. That's right. AI is here.
68. That's $8.7 billion. It's
Boom.
nuts. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. And Microsoft, when they bought them, they laid off a whole boatload of people. They literally laid off a whole bunch of Activision folks.
And I was just going to say this. Activision
today,
today, I know, but Activision today sucks. They're not like Activision back in the day. They became like EA. They became like Electronic Arts. They're not the same company. But the name is still there. The name is still there.
They totally did. So this was an interesting conversation. It went by very quickly. We should
It
cover
did.
this again and see how they do down the road. You know what I mean?
Well, if
back to,
I think that we'll be hearing more from Atari. I think obviously this is just today or yesterday when they bought the Intellivision brand. So it's very, very new, very, very fresh. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it. I still am hopeful for a mini of some kind. Listen to me. I'm telling you the way to do it. And I'm excited. I'm just happy that Atari is making news again.
We'll see. That's the bottom line. We'll see how it goes, and hopefully they do well. And yeah, I hope it wasn't a big fat mistake.
I don't think so. And Intellivision,
I don't
again,
think so either.
They got some good games. Especially the sports games back in the day were unmatched, to be quite honest. They made some really good sports games. Night Stalker was a great game.
The baseball one was really good.
Yep. So they did it. And, ColecoVision, ColecoVision copied the sports games that Intellivision did. And then Atari came out with real sports. We're trying to copy, and they did pretty good. So Mattel innovated in a lot of areas that people then, and copying, as they say, is the biggest form of flattery, right?
Yeah,
that was our important note of the day, everyone. So we're at 9:00. Listen, I hope you guys had a good week. I had a lousy week.
I had a meh week. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was a mixed bag of weirdness, I guess. I don't know.
But I really do hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys took a moment to tell someone, family or friend, that you care and love them, and whatever you want to tell them. That's not going to get you punched in the face. Stephen, I love you, Stephen, but you're not going to punch me through the TV. But just remember, tomorrow is never promised. Take a minute just to let someone know that you matter, they care, whatever you want to say. That's it. I appreciate every one of you guys who joined the show today. We had a good turnout again today.
And I like to say, don't be an asshole.
I would say don't be a John D. That's what I'll say.
Same thing.
But on that being said, I thank every one of you guys for spending your time with us today. It means a lot to both Steven and I.
Yep,
and I know Super Gamer Dudes is kicking off, and you're probably going over to them. We'll see you again next Friday. But in the meantime, love, respect, and most of all,
game on.
Game on.
Game on.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.
Today's episode.
Not every great movie or great arcade game makes a great home video game.